Okay, so we're gonna start with the side pieces. I've had this green nylon kicking around for a while, so I'll use that for the inside of the side piece, so you're not really gonna see it from the outside. I picked up one of these rotary cutters for cutting fabric, or as I like to call it, a pizza cutter. It's an absolute game changer. Okay, that should be good. Let's start hacking up this jacket. So as soon as I started cutting this stuff, I realized that it wasn't as rigid as I thought it was. It was actually just doubled up in a bunch of places. It did cut really nice, but I think if you don't treat the edges probably will fray on this. This is a ripstop fabric, so I think for a tool bag it probably will be pretty good. The zipper that I'm using for the side pocket is a number 5 YKK Vislon zipper. The diameter is 1.25 inches. The seam allowance I'm using to stitch to the fabric is just 1/4 inch. So I've been experimenting with some easy ways of doing these covered zippers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just stitch it 1/4 inch, then I'll flip it over, put some double-sided sticky tape on it, and excuse me here because I didn't quite measure the sticky tape right. And then what you want to do is fold over the fabric and stick it to the tape on the other side and just line up the fold with the center of the zipper. And you're going to do this on both sides. So once you got it all pressed down, then you're going to put it on the machine. I traded out my 1/4 inch foot for a 1/2 inch foot. This is going to give me the perfect spacing to do this stitch. So what I'm actually doing here is I'm rubbing the zipper on the side of the foot and just letting the zipper actually be its own guide to get the stitch as straight as possible. My stitch length is about 4 millimeters for this, and it's not going to go anywhere. It's already stitched and sticky taped, so it's a nice easy way of doing it. And for the other side, I'm just going to do the same thing. 1/4 inch stitch along it, sticky tape it, fold it over, and then use that 1/2 inch foot and rub it against the zipper to get a nice straight even stitch. As you can tell here, I'm pretty much rationing my sticky tape. I wanted to have enough to finish this bag. The thread that I'm using for this project is pretty much the same as what I use for most things. It's just 69 bonded nylon thread, and this is just an OD green. So the side piece of this bag actually has a pocket designed into it, so I figured, why not make the pocket on the bag out of the pocket on the jacket? So I cut it off, measured it, and it's enough material, so let's do it. Because this pocket's going to get a lot of wear and tear, I'm just going to fold it over 1/4 inch, stitch it, fold it over another 1/4 inch, and then do a top stitch over top of that. And that should seal in the frayed edge. So for the strap of this bag, I've pulled out my secret stash of 2-inch nylon webbing. This is the good stuff. This isn't the crap that I made the Leatherman sheath out of. This is my 1.2 millimeter rigid stuff. To line up the stitch on the handle in the right place, I've just put 2 dots on either side of the webbing, folded it in half, lined up the dots, clipped it in place, and then I'll just run my 6-inch stitch along it. The blueprints call for just a 1/6-inch stitch, but because this is a special project, I've actually just stitched a square into it, so I thought it looked pretty nice. So before we stitch our strap to the bag, I'm just going to put the pocket on. The design calls for the strap to actually hold the pocket in place, so I'm just going to run a quick stitch along the edge here just to make sure the pocket doesn't move around, and then I'll get the strap on top of it. So when I stitched this strap on, I just used about a 1/8 inch stitch all the way around. I used my 1/4 inch sewing foot just as a guide and just put the side of the foot to the edge of the strap, and that gave me about 1/8 of an inch. Here's a quick tip for you. Whenever you're doing a contrasting stitch, something that people are going to see, like a really visible stitch, like where your thread color doesn't match your fabric, what you want to do is make your stitch length a bit longer. The longer your stitch length, the more forgiving it's going to be. If you're using about a 1 or 2 mil stitch length, you're going to see every imperfection. But when you just like turn it up to like 3 or 4, it starts to forgive a lot of your shaky hands and mistakes. So depending on how durable you want your bag to be, you can reinforce this stitch there where the pocket is as much as you want. So this is the side piece assembly. Make sure you put your zipper pull in before you stitch it together because you'll regret it if you don't. So when I started working on the bottom piece of the bag, I didn't have enough material in one piece to do it. So what I've done is I just quickly stitched together 2 pieces of fabric to make it up. And then I also cut another piece as a lining material for the inside, just because that part of the bag is going to get a lot of wear and tear. So I just put them on top of each other, transferred the cuts to each piece, and then just did a quick stitch around the perimeter there just to hold it together and cut off the excess. When I started working on the top piece of the bag, for the top zipper, it was really important to me that I had both sides of the zipper fabric in one piece, which I was running really tight on this, so I was really lucky to at least just get the pieces. On one of the pieces, like this one here, I actually didn't even have enough fabric, so I ended up having to literally unfold the cuff of the jacket just to get enough. In the beginning, it was super important to me to have all the little squares of this ripstop fabric line up, but by this point I was just happy just to have enough fabric. I didn't give a damn about the squares anymore. I just used the project itself as a reference here just to cut the zipper. So that's what the top piece looks like, and the stitching method I'm going to use for this is identical to the stitching method that I used on the side pockets. But for the zipper on top, I did use a different zipper. This is a number 10 YKK Vislon zipper, and this is 1.5 inches in diameter. And I figured this zipper is going to get a lot more use than the side zippers, so I wanted this one to be a bit more durable. And just like the side zipper, I'm just running that 1/2 inch foot along the actual zipper itself as a reference. I was really happy with how this turned out. So the top piece of this project and the bottom piece are actually the same size, so what I've done is just placed them on top of each other, and then each edge I've just stitched them at a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Depending on how you seal your edges, I've opted to use my binding machine. If you watch my previous videos, you know how much I have to fight with this thing, so yeah. But overall, it's getting better by the day. So whenever I'm doing a big stitch like this, I like to use little bulldog clips to hold everything in place. So believe it or not, fabric is actually really flexible, and it stretches and moves around on you. So in order to keep all the key parts in the place where I want them after I've stitched, I just do the clips. I used to actually use staples too. So one of the little details that I designed into this bag was to do 45-degree angles on the corners instead of 90-degree angles. I just find when you got a little bit more of a rounded edge that it doesn't wear out as quick. Like if you had a 90-degree angle with a tip on it, if that little tip's constantly rubbing against stuff, then it'll wear out a lot quicker. All 3 zippers are going to get nylon paracord. Pretty much just thread it through, tie in a knot. There you go. Whenever you're cutting paracord, make sure that you always burn the edges. Like paracord's made up of lots of little strands, and they just go all funky on you if you don't seal in the edges as soon as you cut it. I added a little piece of Velcro to the bag, which I actually found on the cuff of the jacket, so it's good just to stick a little patch on. It's not in the plans, but I figured why not. And this is the finished product. I'm really happy with how it turned out. I might actually have enough scrap from this jacket to make another small project, so stay tuned for that. And if you made it this far, thanks for watching, and I appreciate all your support. And until next time, take care.